Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And just as the deadline approaches for the SNP to get its books into Westminster, it seems that one of their more senior members, Angus Airmiles Robertson, has failed to get his books in on time. His company accounts are late and he is facing a fine for doing so. So it seems to be something riven into the DNA of the SNP. Well, let's have a quick look and see why Angus could be in a bit of trouble. Probably not that serious, but it just goes to show the underlying malaise at the heart of the party. Here goes. So SNP Minister Angus Robertson is facing a fine over his company accounts. The SNP Constitution Secretary Angus Robertson is facing a technical fine for narrowly failing to file the accounts of his political research and polling company on time. But you get a year's notice, you get about 9 months leeway. It isn't hard unless you're trying to either prove how stupid you are or B, hide something. You have to wonder about Airmiles, don't you? Which is it? Stupid or crook? Alternatively, it could be both, but I'm not going to suggest that. Official records show Mr. Robertson signed off the paperwork for his subscriber-funded firm, Progress Scotland Limited, yesterday, the day after its May 28th filing deadline. This report is from yesterday. Despite it being granted a 6 months extension. So it wasn't only just late, he was then granted another extension and was late for his extension. A breach of the deadline incurs an automatic penalty of £150. It's not major, but it just shows that sort of that mentality where he seems to think it's not particularly important. The firm's entry at Companies House initially read accounts overdue yesterday, but by afternoon it had been updated with the 5-page set of micro company accounts, which is the minimum that you need to do. Covering the 18 months from the 1st of December 2020 to the 31st of May 2022, they showed capital and reserves of 19,749 against a 609 deficit in the year to 30th of November 2020. So it's grown a bit, and that's fine, companies do. But it's grown by people giving him cash, not him actually producing anything. It's a cash for services thing. It's probably just a way of him, gaining a bit of spending money, because it's hard to make ends meet when you're on that much money, isn't it? In February 2019, Mr. Robertson had claimed thousands of people had generously subscribed to the pro-independence enterprise to help with its work. Mr. Robertson, 53, the MSP for Edinburgh Central, is the sole director and shareholder. So basically, it's a way of people giving him money indirectly. Saying things like this do need to sometimes be investigated. The account stated the financial statements were approved by the director and authorised for issue on the 29th of May 2023 and were signed A. Robertson, director. Failure to file accounts on time is a criminal offence, and Companies House is very strict, as I know to my cost. A few years ago, one of the companies I worked, and I was a day late, and at that point incurred, and it was simply a day late because of circumstance. It wasn't deliberate, but we incurred a £100 fine back in that day, which I had to eat, and that was fine. I told them what I did and explained why there was problems. But it was a much bigger company. It wasn't like 19,000. We were talking a very big company. Anyway, its guidance says it does not matter if your filing deadline expires on a Sunday or a bank holiday. Progress Scotland's was a Sunday. You must still file your accounts by this date, and that was basically what it was. It was a long weekend, and I forgot to do it. Mr. Robertson, the former SNP Westminster leader, set up Progress Scotland in November 2018 after losing his Moray seat in the 2017 snap general election. He was rejected by the people, which is always a good thing. He worked at the time in collaboration with the pollster Mark Diffley. Never heard of him. The firm said it commissioned public opinion polls, focus groups and other research to better understand how people's views are changing in Scotland. He could actually just go out and talk to people. But these politicians like to distance themselves. They don't like people. They don't like mixing with the masses because they consider themselves to be far, far above them. It commissioned and published polling data on Scotland's relationship with the EU and a second independence referendum, some of which was promoted by the SNP. However, its polling work soon dried up as it had a low profile for several years, although its website remains active and it's still soliciting subscriptions because Angus Robertson likes money. It says, please support the work of Progress Scotland by becoming a subscriber. Polling and analysis for Progress Scotland depends on subscriptions to fund the research. The more subscribers Progress Scotland has, the more work we can undertake. Yeah, I mean, this does half sound like a scam to me, and it wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, the subscriptions are £3, £6 or £12 a month. He must wet himself if somebody pays £12 a month. In November 2023, Mr. Robertson secured an accounting period extension from the 30th of November to the 31st of May 22, giving him an extra 6 months to submit the accounts, probably giving him 6 months to salt away as much as he possibly could, perhaps, allegedly, in my opinion. It made his new filing deadline May the 28th this year. Asked by the Herald about the technical fine, Mr. Robertson did not respond to that point, but he did say the accounts had been filed with Companies House. Corporation tax payments are the same period have been made with HMRC. I'm sure he's kept within the law. I mean, okay, so you're late. It's not a big crime. Nobody's crying into their cocoa over it. And he's been fined £150 fine. And it happens all the time. He's not the only one. But the fact that he is the SNP goes to show that they really do not have anyone capable of doing accounts in that in that party. They all seem to think that accounts are kind of, if we one day get around to it, maybe in the fullness of time. You don't realise how serious it can be. Anyway, I should round up there and come up, but it just goes to show that, they just don't take these things seriously. Find them all, and don't give them that 1.2 million in short money. Anyway, coming up. Now, if we're truly honest, Angus Robertson isn't the stupidest man in the party. He's not an idiot. He does sometimes miss the beat, if you like, not have his finger on the pulse. He is definitely, I believe, perceived by people as being a bit crook, being a bit of a flyboy. He does like his jollies, shall we say. But I don't think he's the worst of them by a long way. But this just shows that he kind of treats these things with a bit of contempt. And really, he should have his, finger more on the awareness of what the perception is, shall we say, by him failing to get his books in on time. Given especially the fact that the SNP are having terrible problems with their bookkeeper. So, you'd think with a bit of political nous, you'd make sure that didn't happen. But hey, who am I? I've only been doing the job for 30 years, and even I can get it wrong. So let him off the hook on that one. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. Don't be late with your books. It's a terrible thing, and it's a £150 fine. Goodbye.